As we finish the semester, John Updike reminds us of the importance of staying motivated through his poem, Ex-Basketball Player. Let's begin. Pearl Avenue runs past the high school lot, bends with the trolley tracks and stops, cut off. Before it has the chance to go 2 blocks, at Colonel McCombsky's Plaza, Berth's garage is on the corner facing west, and there, most days, you'll find Flick Webb, who helps Berth out. Flick stands tall among the idiot pumps, 5 on a side, the old bubblehead style, the rubber elbows hanging loose and low. One's nostrils are 2 S's, and his eyes an E and O. And one is squat, without a head at all, more of a football type. Once Flick played for the high school team, the Wizards. He was good, in fact the best in 46. He bucketed 390 points, a county record still. The ball loved Flick. I saw him rack up 38 or 40 in one home game. His hands were like wild birds. He never learned a trade, he just sells gas, checks oil, and changes flats. Once in a while, as a gag, he dribbles an inner tube, but most of us remember anyway. His hands are fine and nervous on the lug wrench. It makes no difference to the lug wrench, though. Off work, he hangs around May's luncheonette. Grease-gray and kind of coiled, he plays pinball, smokes those thin cigars, nurses lemon phosphates. Flick seldom says a word to May, just nods, beyond her face toward the bright applauding tiers of Necco wafers, nibs, and juju beads. Now that we have finished reading this poem, let's dive deeper into it and look specifically at the music and meaning. When I think of the musicality of a poem, the first thing that comes to my mind is rhyme scheme. But when I looked at this poem, as you can see, there is no rhyme scheme in the first 2 stanzas, and it continues that way through the entire poem. After thinking about the rhyme scheme, I move on to thinking about the rhythm and meter. Ex-Basketball Player is written with iambic pentameter. This is going from an unstressed syllable to a stressed syllable, as in Pearl Avenue runs past the high school lot. You can also think of it through claps. Pearl Avenue runs past the high school lot. Just for a reference, this is how William Shakespeare wrote Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet, or the balcony scene. Since we have an unset rhyme scheme and a set meter, we know that this poem is blank verse. One of my favorite things about this poem is the last couple lines, where Updike invites people to finish his metaphor. It reads, Flick seldom says a word to May, just nods, beyond her face, toward the bright applauding tiers of Necco wafers, nibs, and juju beads. Now this isn't him referring to a candy shelf, but so much more. It reminds him of his glory days in high school, where he had bleachers full of people cheering him on. As I continue on and talk about the meaning behind the poem, I thought it would be helpful that you guys can continue to see all of the text. You can look at this poem from 2 different perspectives. You can either see how Webb should move on or should have been more motivated and tried harder and followed his dreams. If Webb would have moved on, he could have found new purpose and new meaning in life, where he wouldn't just be working at a gas station. We can learn from Webb to enjoy our time as we are young, but that doesn't mean that we have to stay there. We can look back and enjoy it every once in a while, but we should not be stuck living in the past with no energy to move on to new dreams and new goals. Now, the issue here isn't that Webb was a successful basketball player, but that he can't move on from it. Webb is stuck in this nostalgic state where he just wants to go back and relive his past. Now, here's where the epiphany comes in. With some motivation, his life could have been changed. We can read this poem and know that Webb's story didn't have to end this way. If he would have stayed motivated and set new goals, or even the same goals, he could have gone so much further than a gas station. So here's where it's your choice. As the reader, you can either follow in Webb's footsteps, or you can pursue your passions. Think about it this way. Where do you want your support coming from? People who love you and cheer your name in the bleachers, or bright applauding tiers of Necco wafers, nibs, and juju beads?